florals reign supreme. By December it's all hail the evergreen. But our foraging buff-tailed bumblebee queen seeks out treasure from late flowering gems, Hesperantha, Hellebore, Salvia and Cyclamen. Welcome to our small garden in Kent, southeast England, where the winter season highlights the lush beauty of evergreen perennials. In many cultures, evergreens have long been recognised as symbols of life and regeneration. Armfuls of plants like ivy, holly, bay and rosemary, traditionally harvested, bundles brought indoors to adorn dimly lit winter rooms with the comforting abundance of green foliage. At a time of year when precious daylight takes early flight, stalked by the inky stained sky of night. The evergreen leafage I'm fixing round this bamboo embroidery hoop is for an arrangement outside. It's going to encircle the wicker star at the centre of the patio table display. This grouping is quite a subtle aesthetic, so the wreath is a fairly casual affair. I've added some texture with faded hydrangea flowers, dried stems of yellow loosestrife, as well as a few floppy sprigs of eucalyptus for an extra element of three-dimensional movement. I've fixed it in place to the metal plant stand with a cable tie. I think this helps unify the star with the elements arranged below, and then some Christmas lights add a little extra festive twinkle. Well, the weather soon decided to test my Christmas wreath construction skills, and they were found a little lacking in durability, but nothing that couldn't be salvaged in the calm after the storm. And we continue to enjoy the ruby cyclamen jewel box gems. These will only tolerate a light frosting, but so far the surrounding leafage seems to have protected them well. Star-bright hellebore flowers seem impossibly pristine despite dirty weather. One of my reliable container favourites for Christmas time flowering is the generously sepaled evergreen-leaved cultivar Shooting Star. The fresh green fountains of Acorus Gramineus ogon, also known as golden Japanese rush, add graceful movement in the breeze with their gently arching form. These are shade-tolerant moisture lovers, but adapt well to life in containers if watered in dry spells. There is another category of perennial evergreen in our garden. Non-hardy evergreen agapanthus and frost-tender salvia tucked up inside the pop-up winter shelter, which is additionally insulated by magazines and recycled packaging in zip bags. Still flowering is our new Mexican sage, Leucantha purple velvet, which we hope by next year, upgraded to a larger container, will flourish towards a gorgeous September display like this one. The overwintering tents stand where our patio table was positioned in summer. Meanwhile, the table has been moved to the edge of the paved area, so that the December Christmas arrangement and forthcoming spring bulb display can be fully appreciated when viewed from inside the house. In a small garden like ours, space is at a premium, so these pots of golden Japanese rush are arranged around the edge of the table, positioned on upturned long toms, which are used for our summer annuals and are now temporarily repurposed as stands. The upside-down long toms still contain all their lovely worm-enriched compost, covered by retaining coir matting, and so as long as I flip the whole thing back the right way up, skillfully enough next year, their contents will remain inside to be reused to grow on our transplanted annual seedlings in early summer. We only reuse compost from healthy annual specimens, and we top up with fresh compost integrated with plant food. The Japanese rush brought to the fore for our December display spends summer and autumn months as a rather glimpsed presence perched along the rear of the raised bed, although we do have 2 large pots permanently positioned either side of the garden bench. You can tell I am very fond of this evergreen perennial. In a small garden, available space and plant impact can be maximised with a season-by-season game of horticultural Tetris, moving garden furniture to where it serves its best purpose for the time of year and relocating potted plants to where they will delight us most at their peak. These bulb pots tucked away behind the Christmas table display are biding their time until it's their turn to take the limelight again front of stage in spring. Recent walk around Ighton Moat, a characterful medieval manor house in Kent, we were struck by the great globes of mistletoe hanging in skeletal tree canopies, a romantic and iconic, yet semi-parasitic and poisonous fruiting evergreen that offers an important winter food source to birds. In parts of England, it was long believed, right up until the First World War in fact, that Christmas mistletoe should be hung in the house until the Ides of March, the 15th of the month. This was a significant date because of its association with the clairvoyance of human fate. Immortalised in Shakespeare's line, "Beware the Ides of March," as the soothsayer tries to warn an unreceptive Julius Caesar of his impending death before he is assassinated in the meeting of the Senate on that very date. While English folklore dictated that on the Ides of March, mistletoe should be taken down and burnt in the fire at midnight. And this ritual was of particular interest to young single women who would carefully observe the fiery scene unfolding in the hearth to divine their marital futures. If the combusting mistletoe burnt with a steady flame, it foretold a contented marriage with a dependable husband, but if the flames sparked and spluttered, it signified less harmonious union and marriage to a bad-tempered spouse. When I think of rosemary, it conjures up images of Mediterranean coastlines, sunshine and shimmering heat, grazing goats, and the heady scent of the garrigue, a world away from wintry scenes and Christmas, and definitely with no connection to ghostly spectres. But there are old records of rosemary sprigs being incorporated into evergreen Christmas decorations in England to ward off ghosts and evil spirits. In fact, it was Christmas, rather than Halloween, traditionally associated with the appearance of ghostly apparitions and telling of ghost stories. Perhaps the most famous of these is Charles Dickens' novella A Christmas Carol, with its spirits of Christmas past, Christmas present and Christmas yet to come, bringing about transformation and emotional enlightenment in the formerly cold-hearted Scrooge. So why would rosemary be thought to have powers to keep away ghostly forces? Well, it stems, no pun intended, from traditionally attributed properties of healing, protection and purification, which modern science bears out with reports that rosemary has antioxidant and antifungal properties, inhibits certain foodborne pathogens, provides measurable, though modest, improvements in memory and concentration, and may lower cortisol levels and reduce anxiety. The December countryside is heavy hung with dense cloud today, scenes coloured with a wash of muted tones and slow beauty. Delicate silhouettes, the lace and the lattice work of bare branches, the spires of bramble arches. Exquisite textures and patterns reveal themselves as foliage returns to the hungry earth. The monuments of decay become the architecture of new life. Fairy tale root forms twist and contort into impossible entwined zoomorphic shapes. Misty patchwork land gently outstretches its fabric towards distant hills that dissolve into the pigeon-grey water vapours of the skies. Back home in the garden, we see the bare and rather tangled branches of our leafless lilac tree, animated by lively avian playfulness, and the birds are so distracting that it takes minutes to notice that while we were out, the wreath around the star decoration has slipped down again. It has been rather blustery here, but I'm not giving up, so this time I've used the forked prongs of a plant stake to secure the wreath in place, and with the dried hydrangeas firmly reattached, the new supporting fixture is barely visible and actually serving continued purpose after its summer retirement. We glimpsed a rather unexpected visitor alighting briefly in this lilac tree at the tail end of Storm Dara. The vivid flash of tropical colour from an Indian ring-necked parakeet. They roost in the tallest trees in our area, having spread south into Kent from large populations in London, and we sometimes hear their distinctive squawking and regularly see small formations passing high over the house. The earliest recorded sightings in the capital was some 130 years ago, so the urban legend that all these colourful birds in the UK originate from a single pair that rock superstar Jimi Hendrix symbolically released from a cage while walking down Carnaby Street in 1968 might be true in part, but his particular birds came late to the parakeet party. In the winter garden, nature is never static and offers up unexpected sights. Thank you for joining us on our tour of the December scenes in our small space and in the expansive Kent countryside. We so appreciate your support and company and look forward to welcoming you again to Appleby Fernsea in 2025. Until then, we wish you all joy in festive times and nature-soothed minds.